Welcome back to you all. It's my pleasure to introduce our final panel for the day prior to our keynote address. And the way this will work is I'll introduce my colleague, Rachel Dwoskin, and then she'll introduce the panel. And we'll try to keep you awake by having various panelists run back and forth on stage while we're getting underway. It's a delight to introduce Rachel Dwoskin. I'm suspecting that if anyone on this campus is familiar to an audience that is preoccupied with or thinking about the relationship between China and the United States and its mediation through art, it would be Rachel. But not for the reasons that I'm about to enumerate. That is, prior to her life at the University of Chicago, Rachel was something of a, I think it's fair to say, a TV star in China. And you may, if you know her from that, not know that she is an associate professor of the practice of the arts here at the University of Chicago, where she teaches in the program in creative writing and in the Department of English, and is affiliated faculty member in the Centers for East Asian Studies and Jewish Studies. Her work explores the peripheries and the transnational experience, particularly focusing on questions of how human beings communicate across divides, linguistic, cultural, national, and physical boundaries. She's the author of astonishing novels, two of which I've read to my daughter, several volumes of poetry, memoirs as well. She also works on translations of Chinese poetry and musical lyrics, most recently of Li Bai's Parting at Shangan. I'll let Rachel introduce the panel, but thank you, Rachel, for agreeing to serve as moderator, and thanks to all of you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, David, for the generous introduction, and thank you guys for giving me the honor of moderating this panel, Making Meaning, with my esteemed colleague, University Professor Han Sasi, and the brilliant, inimitable artist, Xu Bing. I'm going to introduce our panelists, ask several questions of them during and after which they're going to ask questions of each other. And then I'll be sure to leave time for audience questions before we break. Han Sasi is a university professor in comparative literature, the Committee on Social Thought and East Asian Languages and Civilizations. His teaching and research are concerned with classical Chinese poetry and commentary, literary theory, comparative study of oral traditions, problems of translation, pre-20th century medi-history, and ethnography and ethics of medical care. He's also an accomplished cyclist, and thus, as he puts it, discovered that long road trips favor the memorization of verb paradigms and lyric poetry, which are two of his main intellectual interests. He's at work on a book about the concept of rhythm in psychology, linguistics, literature, and folklore. He's also the author of numerous celebrated books, including The Problem of a Chinese Aesthetic, about the tradition of commentary around the early Chinese poetry, Shi Jing, the Book of Songs, which we'll ask him about, Great Walls of Discourse and Other Adventures in Cultural China, an account of ways of knowing and describing specific to China scholarship, and edited collections, including Chinese women poets, comparative literature in an era of globalization, sinographies, Writing China, Chinese Walls in Time and Space, Partner to the Poor, and others. Professor Sasi has been at the University of Chicago for 9 years, before which he taught at UCLA, Stanford, Yale, and the City University of Hong Kong, and served as president of the American Comparative Literature Association. He is a member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. Xu Bing is an installation artist and one of China's most well-known creative masters. He is a maker of art and language, a reshaper of meaning, and a boat rocker. I remember seeing in the early 1990s his famous Book from the Sky, a massive installation of hundreds of volumes and scrolls printed with 4,000 imagined Chinese characters cut by hand into wood printing blocks. At the exhibition I saw, scholars, critics, viewers, and students circled life-size panels printed with beautiful characters that felt familiar but that none of us could read. Some people became frantic with the desire to discern readable or ready meaning, but we all had to accept ultimately that this book's requirement of a new way of reading was its great and, in a sense, equalizing meaning. Our desire to discern comfortable or established ideas from symbols is made fascinatingly complicated by Shubing's work, including his new film, Dragonfly Eyes, in which sometimes footage stacks or flashes by so fast it's impossible even to see the symbols from which we are accustomed to deriving clear meaning. The pace alone requires us to accept that meaning can sometimes be a feeling as much as an understanding. Last spring, I saw Shubing present from his more recent book, From the Ground, an imaginative and poetic bookend to Book from the Sky. Book from the Ground is made without words, using symbols, icons, and logos to recount a day in the life of an office worker named Mr. Black. It is a stunningly contemporary book and a gift of communication, something anyone can read, and on whose meaning it feels possible to reach a rare sort of global agreement, almost common perception. Shubing has described his practice as something he quote-unquote treats in a wild way rather than a fixed way, suggesting that if, as an artist, you can find a correct way to face your background, your tradition, then maybe you can change that background in a good way. He has done a profound job at precisely this kind of changing, most recently in Dragonfly Eyes, a film composed of 11,000 hours of surveillance video distilled and shaped into an 81-minute movie about privacy, reality, and the imposition of and human need for coherence and meaning. At its core, Dragonfly Eyes also asks, as so much of Shubing's work does, what is real? Shubing's awards are glorious and too numerous to list. They include a MacArthur and solo exhibitions at the Museum of Modern Art and the Metropolitan in New York City, as well as the British Museum in London. We are thrilled to have him on campus today. Please join me in welcoming Shubing to the University of Chicago. So my first question is if you'd be willing to tell us about how and where you see yourself fitting into the long and distinguished history of Chinese artists. I've been percolating the idea from the Yan'an talks that the goal of art is to contribute to social stability and justice. And of course, this is consistent with the social and political role of everything from painting to poetry. And I'm curious about your thoughts on the utility of art and the social obligations of artists, classic constraints at home, and about artistic freedom and being on the global stage. Take your time.
不是，不是你这个刚才这个翻译好像是好久没有翻译啊，因为你说了很长，没有答。现在翻译了吗？你的问题就是说是这个，就是我怎么样用这个中国传统文化。然后这个怎么样这个运用于这个当代艺术的创作，是这个问题吗？
差不多啊，也是就是你自己的 position 在这个 tradition 里面 ，how you fit in to the long and distinguished tradition of Chinese artists， 自己的职位，
自己的位置，是这样啦，就是说这个，其实总的来说呢，我们都生活在一个当代的一个语境中，但是呢，但是我们每个人呢，又都带着自己的这个特殊的文化的背景，因为任何的文化背景呢，其实都有它的，叫什么优质的地方和劣质的地方。这个就看谁呢，能够通过他的作品，这个把你的文化中优质的地方，通过你的作品给展示出来，或者说通过你的作品，把这部分带入这个当代文化的一个领域。对，那这个。但是问题，这个优质的部分和劣质的部分啊， 其实呢它是相互转换的，就是同样的一个传统的思想，但是呢它在这个不同，就是人类文明发展到不同的阶段呢，其实它会转换，就有些是非常优质的思想，但是在某些阶段呢，它就会变成一个很有问题的思想。但是有些的很有问题的思想，但是在文明发展的另外一个阶段，它就成了一个最有价值的思想。这是我对待这个当代文化和传统的一个关系。比如说，我老举这个例子，就是说这个比如说我们中国人特别讲究天人合一的思想，或者说敬畏自然的思想啊。可是这个思想呢，在200年以前呢，就是一个反动思想。为什么这么说呢？因为那个时候人类的文明呢，其实都是在这个发展工业文明和这个推动人类的科学的进步而解决人的生存问题。但是作为一个我作为一个中国艺术家，我说天人合一是吧？我什么都不做，反正是天人合一是吧？那这个时候就是一个很错误的思想。但是人类发展到今天，我觉得同样的这样的一个古代的思想，却成了一个最先进的思想，因为那是对今天的人类的问题和下一个阶段人类的问题，它实际上是具有非常强的一个提示性和警示性。因为在今天这个我们人类的生存都存在问题，我们呼吸都存在问题，我们的这个疾病这个到处都在蔓延，那我们确实得这个敬畏自然。它是这样的一个，其实就是我身上带的这个传统的文化的东西，或者说任何一个不同文化背景的人进入到把你扔到当代文明中，其实都有这个问题，就是怎么样反省我们的文化。
Do you want to ask about how he?
I wanted to ask about another aspect of your work, because in addition to being a very visible and influential artist, you've also taken up the burden of administering, right, of being a vice director, I think, of the Central Academy of Fine Arts.
Sorry， 这好像翻译好像不工作。
没关系。那我就说，除了做一个很有影响力，被所有人认识的艺术家以外，你还做了那个中央艺术学院的副校长，好像是的，我忘了你的职位，但是所以在那方面你怎么做的？怎么找出怎么领导，怎么保护那些年轻的艺术家，特别是做观念艺术或者装饰艺术或者行为艺术，这种可能比较站在比较危险的地方的艺术，so you know。还有最近我们都知道在中国那个言论是控制的比较严一点，所以我觉得可能这种艺术家很容易引起大众的批评什么的。那你作为老师怎么指导他们？就是这样的问题。
怎么样指导他们在一个比较严的一个批评的环境下创作？
就是在艺术家可能就会碰到很激烈的大众的批评的环境里面做他们的艺术。会有这种事情吗？
对你这个问题其实有点复杂，好像好几个问题在里头。对，是我做领导的这个问题，还是这个言论有点不自由的问题，还是教育的一个问题？
对，就是说做在中央艺术学院 怎么做那种事情，而还帮助年轻的艺术家
对
发展。
是，对，其实是这样的，我不知道这个翻译他是不是工作，或者说还需要怎么样解决一下。All right。
他一会儿就够。I think the
好
translator is going to appear on stage momentarily. Everyone remain calm.
Sorry， 对，对我就是说这个，当然我是在西方生活了很长时间，虽然我的外语很差，但是这个后来我回到中央美术学院做副院长啊，这个我是觉得呢，就是说对我的思维是很有帮助的啊，因为我看到就是说现在的年轻人，我为他们做展览，或者我跟他们交流艺术，但实际上呢，对我的收获是我随时都在比较我这一代艺术家和他们这一代艺术家之间的距离和区别在哪儿啊？可以这么说，就是说，由于这个世界进展的太快，而所谓老师和学生之间的关系有时候会倒过来，因为总的来说，在今天，我是觉得我们所有的人，不管什么种族的人和不管是教育程度高低的人，不管是教授和学生，我们基本上都处在一个面对一个每天都面对全新的事物和全新的方法和全新的工具的一个时代，所以这就有点像原始时代。为什么这么讲？就是说，这个因为对我们来说，任何东西都是新的，就像人类最初始的时代面对的这个世界，它是这样的一种感觉。所以呢，教和学之间的关系呢，就变得比过去要复杂很多，或者颠倒过来啊，它是这样的。总的来说，我是
Generally speaking.
呀，你好，
Sorry.
总的来说，我是觉得什么呢？就是说这个
Generally speaking, I feel like
对，我是觉得其实是每一代人有每一代人的事情，
every generation, people have their own generation issues.
对，每一代人做每一代人的事儿，
Every generation has their own issues.
对，所以呢，就是说，对年轻的学生来说呢，实际上是，特别是教艺术，我们很难这个直接的说艺术是什么，或者说艺术怎么教，因为
So for young college students, especially for teaching arts, it's hard for us to say what is art, how to teach arts.
对，因为呢，人类探讨艺术探讨了很多时代，但是探讨到今天，最后终于发现，我们进入了艺术是什么最不清楚的一个时代。
Yeah, because human being has been exploring arts for many, many generations. Until now, we discovered that, nobody understands it. This is its current state.
但是艺术怎么教，当然就变得更复杂。
Of course, it's more complicated how to teach arts.
所以我们其实我上课主要是 seminar 的课程，我的硕士生和博士生，其实我们后来我发现其实都是围绕着艺术在说。
Yeah, when I gave lectures for graduate students, master degree and PhD degrees, we in a format of seminar.
一旦你点到艺术本身的那一部分的时候，其实呢，这艺术的东西就消失了。
Yeah, as soon we sit around and talk about arts, as soon as we touch to the point about arts, all of a sudden the art disappeared.
所以呢，这个最终我其实发现每一个人呢都是一个宝藏。
Okay, eventually I discovered that everybody has a full wealth of art.
就是老师呢，其实就是可能你比年轻人有一些经验，但是呢，年轻人身上有很多带有种子性质的东西，非常有价值，他可能自己并不知道。
And professors are maybe a little bit more experienced than the young scholars, but young scholars, they have this seeding in themselves about art, and they haven't realized that.
Yeah， 所以呢，就是说我呢只能够就是通过我们的交谈，我可以感受他到底对艺术是什么态度，他对艺术到底想付出多少，最后我可以在这个过程中发现他的宝藏在哪儿。
So through our conversation, I can discover where is their art points and how much effort are they willing to put into the art. Eventually, I may discover there a full wealth, a treasure of art.
Yeah， 其实就是说帮助他找到一个挖这个宝藏的缺口。
Actually, in fact, I'm just trying to help them to find an entrance point for them to dig out all their artistic wealth.
然后得靠他们这一生去挖掘。
And we have to rely on themselves to dig out their whole wealth of art in their entire life.
至于这个在中国的，就是说艺术表达的一个范围和局限性，或者说它的另外的一种，就等于是一个可以表达的一个范畴，是吧？
In terms of the scope of artistic expression in China,
但实际上这个东西有点复杂。但是从
actually
我
this is
个
a
人
little
的
bit
经验呢，
complicated from my own personal experience.
我特别善于教给学生呢，你必须要发现你自己的局限。
When I talk with my students, you have to discover your own limitation.
和这个社会的局限性。
And also the limitation of the society.
关键就是说，你得懂得怎么样把这些局限性转换成只有你有的和只有你的背景有的一种特殊的东西，而让你变得非常特殊。
The key is how can you discover this limitation and transform this limitation into something that unique to you.
其实任何东西都是可以激发出来你的一种能量的。
This can be like energize your own energy.
比如说我在受教育的时候，其实中国是一个很保守或者说很愚昧的一个地方。
When I was receiving my education in China, in fact, China was very conservative, like a lag far behind kind of society.
但是我的那些老师呢，我发现他们有一个本事，特别善于在有限的一个空间中，他们有一个很强的能力，就是把艺术这部分推进到极致。
But I discovered the skills of my professors. They are capable of using the limited spatial limits and to push the artistic talents into the extreme.
比如说我的创作就有这个特点。
That's
就像
one of the
刚才
feature of my
对，
creativity
比
and
如
my
像
artistic
刚才
work.
提到的这个《蜻蜓之眼》这个电影，
Just like what I mentioned about early about dragonfly eyes, the
所以
movie.
我必须要给自己先设定一个限定，比如这个限定就是说，这个电影里的所有的材料都不是我们自己拍摄出来的，而必须是这个寻找来的监控画面。这个设定呢，就是给自己先做一个限定。
Yeah.
我很善于在一个有限定的范围内创造。
Yeah. Before we started this, I first have to set a limit or boundary of my creativity. For example, all the materials in this are not something you made, but all taken from the surveillance camera footage. So I have to force myself to create my artwork within this boundary or limit.
Yeah. 好像差不多就这个问题。
Could that be?
谢谢，不一
Thank
定
you.
回答了你的问题。
I don't know necessarily whether I have answered your question or not.
It's fine.
Since we've already arrived at Dragonfly Eyes, can I ask a follow-up
Yeah,
question?
please. Yeah.
So it seems to me that Dragonfly Eyes is not just made of surveillance and sort of a film about what's public and what's private, but also deeply concerned with and revealing about the imposition of meaning onto what we see and what's seen of us.
他的问题，I don't have。哦，我没有。 我没有用，我在等着你的这个。
Is the earpiece still working? 我再来一次吧。Dragonfly Eyes seems not just made of surveillance and about what's public and what's private.
这儿没有，没关系。
说的 Dragon Eye 就是
对
你演的，它是中间没有区分哪是公众的，哪是隐私的这种。
But is deeply concerned with and revealing about the imposition of meaning onto what we see and what's seen of us.
那么我们这样看到，就是我们所见到的这一切，或者是别人看到我们这一切，那么它的这些意义是在哪里？
Can you talk about how you imagined and constructed the film and your thinking on the boundary between what's real and what's artificial?
那么你怎么去设想？你怎么去创造这个电影？哪个是真实的，哪些是人工创造的？
OK， 对，我觉得这是一个很好的问题。
I think this is a very good question.
实际上呢，我的创作呢，我很喜欢把这个我的作品呢放在一个你没法解的一个矛盾中。
Okay, for my creativity work, I like to put my artwork into a situation. It's like you cannot really solve the issue.
你看，比如说这个《蜻蜓之眼》这个电影呢，它呢就是说，它完全把这个现实和这个不真实，和虚幻，它完全是混在一起。
For example, for the movie of Dragon Eyes, it's completely mixed what is reality, what is not real, what is illusion. They make everything together.
所以上这个电影呢，你没法界定这个电影到底是一个故事电影，想象中的故事电影，还是一个比纪录片还要更真实的一个纪录电影。
So it's hard for you to imagine whether it is a feature film, like a story film movie, or it is a documentary, even more realistic than reality.
对，因为呢，这个我最早有这个想法的时候呢，其实我是认定必须要做一个故事电影。
When I first have this idea, I originally thought like it has to be a story, like a
Yeah.
movie.
为什么呢？因为在这个电影之前的所有的故事电影全是演出来的。
The reason is that the story movie before this movie, Dragonfly Eye, they were all acted out in the movies.
但是呢，就这个《蜻蜓之眼》这个电影呢，它虽然是故事电影，虚构的，可是它的每一帧画面都是真实发生的。
For the Dragon Eye movie, although the storyline is illusional, is a made up storyline, but all the pictures, they are the real pictures.
对呀，所以有时候我们参加电影节，电影节会问我们，让我们填表，你知道吧？说它是剧情电影还是纪录电影？说它摄影师是谁，演员是谁，但是我们都没法填写这些表格。
So sometimes when we go to the festival, we have to fill out the form. Is that like a storyline? Who are the actor, actress? Who played in the movie? And we cannot fill out the form. We don't know what to say.
其实这个比如说这个电影它有，我在这儿解释一下，就这个电影有意思的一个部分呢，就是说，它是没有这个演员，但是这个主角呢，他却是由很多不同的人的真实生活的片段，构成了这个主角的今世前生。
Okay, the interesting thing about this movie is that we don't have a main character in the movie, but it is actually the main character is made up about many people's real story combined into this main character storyline.
这就涉及到更深一层的问题，就是涉及到这个佛教的一个对真实和对现实和这个来世和这个灵魂附体，和精神层面的一个问题。所以这个电影是从这个佛教开始的。
So actually, this involves in the Buddhist thinking about this life, the next life, reincarnation, and the spiritual level. So it's really started with this philosophical thinking in Buddhism.
比如说，因为佛教它不注重肉身，就是说，比如说我们在坐在这块儿，但是佛教它不认为你们的真实的，你们真的坐在这块儿。
For Buddhism thinking, they don't emphasize much about the physical being. For example, we're all sitting there. But in the Buddhist viewpoints, it's like that's not a real thing that you're sitting here.
对，这个就是涉及到，比如说这些真实生活中的人，他们之间是什么关系？他们共同构成了另外一个虚幻的人的生活，所以他们之间是什么关系？
So this just involved in true people in real life, what are their relationship between each other? And all this relationship make up to illusional, not so real kind of interaction, interrelationship in this illusional world.
Yeah. 所以呢，就是那他们和主角之间又是什么关系？
Then what is the relationship between them and the main character in the movie?
Yeah. 那就是说主角是不是存在？就是说这个主角是不是存在？还有说现实生活中的这些人是不是存在？
So then we have to ask this question, does the main character really exist? Or do the people in the real life, do they really exist?
所以这个电影到最后呢，其实他最后那老和尚跟那个柯凡充当的蜻蜓，最后他说了一句话，他说了一句《红楼梦》里头的一句话，就是假作真时，真亦假。
Okay, so towards the end of this movie, the old monk said something to
这个反正是
柯凡 and 蜻蜓, they're the main characters.
the main character, the Kefan, the Qingting, and he said something that's quoted directly from the Dream of the Red Mansion. So when the fake become the truth, the fact or truth, and the truth then also become the fake.
这个其实呢，就是涉及到当代的我们生活，也是很核心的一个命题。
This is
真假
actually
的问题。
Yeah, this is actually involved in the talks about the key issues in our contemporary life. What is real? What is fake?
Yeah. 比如说，我们每个人都有手机。我就是说，其实，在今天的人呢，我们随时都在和你的手机在配合着演双簧。双簧就是一种表演的方法，是吧？就是两个人前后，一个人说话，那人动作，就是这么一个状态。
For example, nowadays everybody has a cell phone. I would say every day people are playing. I don't know how to translate that one.
双簧没关系，一种表演就是
People are performing on our.
It's a kind of
phones are
performing
performing.
arts, like two people are acting out as one person. So actually, every day people are playing that
Yeah.
kind of thing with your own cell phone, like your cell phone, and you are playing one thing.
所以我们每天这个把自己发布给世界的，到底是真实的你，还是另外一个你？
So every day, what we posted outside to the outside world, is that the real you, or is not such a real you?
Yeah.
I mean, it's worth mentioning in this moment, too, that Kofan in that final sequence, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but it's still worth watching the movie, has had plastic surgery
Yeah.
to resemble Qingting, right?
整容。
对
然后来让它像蜻蜓一样。
对。
It seems like a very contemporary expression of an idea that reminds me of Tianshu, the idea that the container of a certain meaning or a certain self can change, and then we don't know whether the self is still the self or some completely other self.
就有点像天书这种，
对
就是说，就是有一个框架，一个范围，哪个是你自己，哪个不是你真实的自己，到底哪个是真实的，哪个是虚幻的。
对，是的。
So can you talk about plastic surgery in the
那么你
movie
能
and how you used it to combine all the characters
Oh,
who
okay.
are real people from surveillance footage into sort of both real people and imaginary characters you created?
那么就是怎么样使用眼睛手术把这个就是说监控器里面那些真实的人，然后和创造出这种虚幻的这种。
其实是这样，就是说，这个电影的这个表面的故事的这一层主题，是来自于什么呢？是我有了这个想法，就是说2013年的时候我有这个想法，我看到一些监控画面，这些监控画面我觉得哎呦太有意思了啊，因为呢它真的是我们过去没有看到过这么有意思的画面，是因为我们过去的移动影像基本都是在表演，即使纪录片也是在表演。
The theme of this movie, I came upon with this theme because the first time when I watched when I saw the surveillance footage, it's very interesting because before that, everything was like a show, it's like a performance, either in a movie or even in a documentary.
documentary 总是说，哎，你叙述一遍。
But for documentary, you have to like narrate the story again.
或者说你从这门走一遍，没走好，你再走一遍。
For example, you just walk through this door. If you didn't do a good job, okay, walk over again.
所以呢，我当时就在想，如果谁能够只用这些材料做一个剧情长片出来，那一定非常有意思。
So at that time, I was thinking if somebody can make a long story into a movie, that got to be very interesting.
然后我就开始请教一些电影人。电影人他们基本上都说你这个想法不能成立。
At that time, I was, like consulting those movie professionals, and they all say, your idea, it doesn't work the way your idea goes.
因为你连主角都没有，你怎么把故事推进下去？
Then you don't even have a main character. How can you just make the story, develop the story?
后来我就说，那我就做一整容的故事吧。反正这个主角可以变脸，他就可以推动下去。
Then I thought maybe I should do a plastic surgery story, so main character can keep changing their face, and in this case, the story can go on.
但实际上，整容这个事情，其实它是和这个监控，或者和今天的就是和今天的这个生活的一个很要命的问题是发生相关的，就是我们看到的是什么。
Actually, the plastic surgery is closely related to the surveillance footage, and what we have seen is so closely related.
其实呢，就是说其实最后我们发现，就是说这个主角是由不同的 face 构成的。
Eventually, we discovered the main character is composed of people with different faces.
其实是什么呢？是因为我们的这些大片儿最后培养了我们的观众。其实看那个假装的真实的故事，其实不是，我们是看谁在充当这个真实的故事的角色。
For the traditional movies, it has made us all get used to, trained us to think in a way when we watch the pretend movie into thinking that's the true situation or true story. But in reality, that's not the case.
Do you want to ask a follow-up question about dragonfly eyes?
Yeah.
We can also talk about Tianshu or
Yeah.
from the ground.
I'm thinking there's a continuity between Tianshu and Dragonfly Eyes in that both are experiments with meaning,
那么
where
天书和金眼之间是很连续性的，中间都是探索意义的这种。
yeah, where a large part of your experiment is in collage, right? It's in putting together things that might not have started out together, and you put a lot of responsibility onto the viewer to invent and project connections between the elements.
那么这两个中间一个共同点就是把好多图面联系在一起，然后呢，你要靠你的观众来看这些图片中间有什么关联，中间的意义是什么。
Yeah, and with Tianshu, the feeling of the viewer is that everything is extremely unnatural and stiff and incomprehensible.
那对于天书呢，一切都是很不自然的，就是不真实的，就是没法理解的。
Yeah, and with Dragonfly Eyes, I think it's also our human instinct to find a story between any two random events, right? So there it's kind of going with the natural flow.
那么蜻蜓眼里呢，就是我们人的本性，就是看到两个不同的画面，我们就要去寻求它中间的一个故事情节是，所以就自然的流露出来了。
是这样了，就是说这也是很好的问题。
This is a very good question too.
就是说，我的创作呢，其实是，我其实创作有一个，虽然它的形式特别不一样。
So in terms of my artistic work, you know, although they have different formalities, forms,
但是它其实有一个内在的这种联系性。比如说，您刚才谈到的《天书》和《蜻蜓之眼》，这个是30年的一个距离的创作。
so actually there is a innate connection between all this artistic work. The one you talk about,
对，《天书》和这个
天书 and Dragonfly Eyes, there is
之间有30年的。
there is like a 30 years of difference.
但是呢，这个它里头有一种共同性，就是说，我其实是很善于制造一个巨大的事实，可是这个事实呢又是虚幻的。
But there's a commonality there. I am very good at creating a fact, but in reality, the fact is a illusion.
就是说，我就是很喜欢是我的艺术的手法就很喜欢是，中国有一句话叫声东击西，对。
And for my artistic skill, you know, I really like in Chinese we have a saying: when you strike the east, you know, when you howl at the east, you actually strike the west, the opposite direction.
就是我特别认真的在说这个事儿，其实呢，我真正想说的是别的事儿。
Actually, although I'm seriously talking about this issue, but in reality, I really meant the other issue.
然后呢，我其实很喜欢通过我的作品呢，就是好像是设定了一个圈套似的，然后把观众呢给那个吸引到这个圈套里面来。
I really like to use my work. It's like to design a trap and attract my audience into this trap.
比如说《天书》这个作品，就是它看上去真的很漂亮，这么多这个中国的古代的这个文字啊，而且把文字放在一个非常受尊重的一个位置上。
For example, for this work of Tian Shu, you know, it's a lot of traditional ancient Chinese characters and put in a very esteemed position. And
这些书呢，真的是装订的和这个设计的非常的像，非常重要的书。
yeah, the book is designed and it was made seem like they're very, very important book.
观众会觉得这种书一定是告诉你非常重要的内容的，但是其实它是没有给你任何的信息的指向的。
And the audience will have the impression this must be a very, very important book. But in reality, there's nothing, no information there.
对，其实蜻蜓之眼也是这个方法。
And then actually, I use the same kind of method for Dragonfly Eye.
对，我给你一个很古典的一个爱情的故事，模仿了一个好莱坞的大片儿。
Yeah, I give you a like classical love story, like one of those Hollywood movies.
但实际上呢，他真正想说的事情呢，其实还不是这个事情。
In reality, what the story really want to describe is not this story.
对，总的来说，我是希望就是说，把人的这个习惯的、惯性的思维，中间制造一个障碍。
Generally speaking, what I wanted to do is create a barrier or block in our routine, habitual way of thinking.
对，就是你旧有的这些对于文字的概念和对于电影的概念等等的这些旧有的概念，面对这些作品呢，其实都不工作。
So all your old kind of concept about literature, about movies. Those old concepts will not work when you watch this movie.
对，这个时候呢，其实我的作品就开始工作了。
Actually, by this time, my own work start to work again.
就像电脑死机了一样，死机很重要。最后你再重启的时候呢，它就会打开更多的 memory 的空间和找到更好的一个运营的一个线路。
It's just like when your computer just got stuck there, and then you have to shut it down and restart it again. When it restarted, it give more memory for you to go around, and then they give you more ways of operating for different program to run in the new computer.
Can you talk about Book from the Ground in this respect too, how that fits in? And then we'll take questions from the audience.
Work from the ground 这个是怎么样适合您刚才讲的这个项目，然后之后我们再从观众里给您提问好吗？
OK， 谢谢。Book from the Ground 呢也是在倾听之眼之前的一个作品。
A Book from the Ground is a work before the Dragonfly Eye.
哎，它和这个 Dragonflies 有一点非常像，是这两个作品所使用的材料呢，都是不成熟的材料。
One similarity between the two work is that the two work, both of them use the material that is not so mature
对，
material.
这些材料本身都是在生长中的。
All this material we're using, they're in the kind of developing stage.
对，倾听之眼呢，其实它是有这个想法是13年，但是做不出来，15年的时候才做出来，是因为15年这些监控画面才上传到云端。
Actually, I have the idea for the Dragonfly Eyes in 2013, but I couldn't make it until 2015. By that time, that was a time when the surveillance footage was uploaded into the cloud.
Book from the Ground 呢，它也是，其实在差不多16年以前我就有这个想法啊。
Similarly, Book from the Ground, I have that idea like 16 years ago.
但是其实也是做不出来，是因为那时候没有这么多的emoji 也好，还有这么多的公共的一个表情符也好，因为那时候全球化的程度还没有后来这么高。
It's similarly, I could not make it like 16 years ago because at that time we didn't have so many emojis, so many emotions, you know, and because at that time globalization was not to the certain extent we have today.
但是现在的表情符这个 emoji 就非常的多，
Now we have a lot of emojis about emotions.
所以在6年以前这个书才出版。
So that's why it was published only 6 years ago.
对，就是呢，有些时候呢，我们需要等待这些材料它的发展。
Sometimes we have to wait until our raw materials are developing or developed.
当然，这个 Book from Ground 这个作品呢，它又涉及到刚才谈到的一些问题，就是说我的作品的这个如何生效的问题啊。
And the book from the ground also involve in the same thing that I talked about earlier. How does my artwork start to work to make it impact?
因为比如说这本书呢，它和天书啊看起来非常不一样。
This book is very different from 天书 when from superficial.
但是实际上他们俩也有共同的地方。这共同的地方就是说，他们对谁都是平等的。
But in reality, there's a common theme there. The common theme there is they are fair, they're equal for everybody.
对，不管你是中国人还是西方人，但是你都看不懂。
Whether you're Chinese or you're Westerners, you cannot understand anyway.
但是地书这个作品呢，《Book from Ground》这个作品呢，不管你是来自于什么文化背景的，和你的教育等级的高低，你都可以看懂。
But book from the ground, you know, regardless your cultural background, regardless where you're from, you can all understand.
就是它重新界定了我们的人类的过去的对文化等级的一个理念。
Yeah, it's redefined the hierarchy of culture that we had before.
Thank you. Are there audience questions? We have time for a few questions. Yeah.
I have questions about the Book of the Sky. I know before the Book of the Sky is called the Book of the Sky, it has another name, which is called a mirror that reflects the world, 细细见. So I just wonder what kind of world, I just want to know more about the original title of the Book of the Sky. What kind of world does it reflect? What kind of world does that title meant to mirror?
对，我能明白他这个意思。对，
你能明白吗？是吧？他就是为什么有
对
不同的名字，你想要表达的是什么？
其实当时呢，那个时候差不多是86年、87，就是80年代中期了。
Because at that time it was either 86, 87, in the middle of 80s.
因为呢，中国文革刚结束不久，所以呢，这个文化界它有一个阶段叫文化热。
Because at that time the cultural revolution just ended. In the arts field or literature field, we have like a short period of artistic, like a heat, like
Culture fever, we call it.
okay, culture fever.
Yeah,
Okay, thank
yeah,
you.
thank
所以那时候呢，就是我们特别喜欢探讨那个特别大的主题、特别深刻的主题，所以才给了这么一个特别假装的一个题目。
Because at that time we like to discuss, to explore big themes, deep, profound thinking theme. That's why we gave a title that sounds really fake, but it's so thought-provoking.
但是呢，后来大家都管叫天书，我觉得这个挺好，挺。
Later, everybody call it 天书, and I think that's a good title.
Yeah.
Hi, just want to thank you for your intriguing talk. I get to know more about your works, and I also want to apologize that I'm going to ask a really broad question. So I'm currently an art student here at UChicago, and so a problem not only for me but also for a lot of my fellow classmates have is that is the possibility to justify ourselves as artists and to justify our artworks under this almost like postmodern era where we are constantly breaking limitations and we're constantly redefining art. And so given that, okay. Yes, so basically I write music, and a lot of times, especially for contemporary music, if you ask a composer, a well-established composer, how do you compose your music? Sometimes I get the answer that there is no rules in it, and there is no way to define your piece, and there is no specific method to construct the piece in such a way. So my problem is that, without those limitations or definitions of art, how do you justify yourself as doing art? Like,
yeah. 其实现在啊，很多的没法界定的事情被你做出来了，其实都可以归纳为当代艺术。
So nowadays, a lot of things, things that you cannot define, but you make something that cannot be defined. Actually, the thing you made is art.
其实是什么呢？就是说啊，实际上呢，就是说艺术呢，其实有各种功能。
And in fact, arts have different functions.
比如说你在街头画像，我一些朋友在街头画像，我觉得很好，他5分钟就做一个交易。
And some people, you know, they're doing painting or drawing on the street. I think that's very good. You know, 5 minutes, you got a transaction.
如果你在这个礼品店里头，礼品店里你做的艺术，在礼品店里可能你一星期卖1张。
But if you're doing the artwork in a gift store, maybe you can only sell 1 piece in a week.
对，有些人1年卖1张，有些人一辈子卖一个想法。
Some people like sell 1 piece in a whole year. Some people just for the whole life only 1 idea.
其实总的来说是什么呢？艺术到底是干什么的？我们得把这个搞清楚，和艺术和社会之间的关系到底是怎么回事，我们得搞清楚。
Yeah, we need to make sure we understand exactly what is arts. What is the relationship between arts and society?
就是说，比如说你是音乐家，你是作曲家，但是你得明白，你想成为一个天马行空的思想的这个作曲家，但是问题是你有什么条件跟社会交换，让你成为这么一个这么天马行空的人。
For example, you're a musician, you're a composer, and you want to, you know, be a composer, just let your imagination run wild. But then what kind of a condition do you have, like a qualification do you have to exchange your artwork so the society accept your composition as a piece of art?
比如说我就在想，为什么有些人给我做展览，或者说他买我的作品，他买的是什么？其实我的作品并不是做的那么精细，或者怎么样，材料多珍贵。
Many times I've been thinking, how come some musician would accept my exhibition, you know, buy my artwork? What are they getting from my artwork? And actually, none of my artwork is so delicately made, and none of my materials are super expensive.
也许我觉得那可能通过我的这些物质化的作品呢。可能是，表达了一种特殊的看事情的角度，或者一种特殊的思想的方法。可能这个东西是值钱的，而且是人类需要的。
So I was thinking maybe from my artwork it shows a special way of expressing ideas.
就是你的一个思想的方法吧。
个人的角度好像是。
一个是
Yeah, from your own like a perspective to view the world, to express yourself through your artwork, and I think the society need that kind of viewpoint.
其实总的来说就是说，我们到底给世界什么东西，就有点像这2天这个什么冠状病毒似的，和这个叫什么这种通常的病毒。比如说哈，我觉得当代艺术其实有点像冠状病毒。
I just like, you know, like these days we talk about coronavirus and some common virus, but I think the modern arts is almost like coronavirus.
为什么这么说？就是说，这个冠状病毒呢，它是过去的我们的这个文明的知识的体系中没有的。
Why would I say that? It's almost like coronavirus is something in our civilization, is something like in our old way of civilization, we did not have anything at all, like something like a coronavirus.
但是它确实对旧有的体系的扰乱是致命的。
But it has a fatal like interruption of the old system.
Yeah. 所以呢，然后科学家就开始分析了这冠状病毒怎么回事，把它的这个生物链给找到，对吧？最后这个冠状病毒呢，一个是被来路给找清楚了，它的分类也给找清楚了，它自己呢也慢慢的适应了这个系统，而成为了一个惯常的一个病毒。
And then the scientists, they studied the coronavirus to find out where it is from, what the genetic makeup, and then study that, and then eventually they accept that. So coronavirus will be a new common virus that we all accept as a part of our society.
这个惯常的病毒就成了什么流感病毒，成了就是说成了服务性的病毒，就是说过一阶段就得流行一阵子，让你们机体稍微健康一点。
Then the coronavirus will become like a common flu virus, you know, and something you have to pay attention to once in a while, and then coronavirus will come over once in a while to make you sick but make you more resistant and make you more healthy.
对，其实就在于你要什么东西了。
It really depends on what do you need, what do you want.
Let's put our hands together for the unsubstitutable Xu Ban.
谢谢你，
Thank you.
谢谢，
Thank you.
谢谢，
谢谢你来救命。